السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, I hope that all of you are doing well. So, inshallah, today we are going to continue with the next topic from the book of Tajweed. And alhamdulillah, today we are going to begin the topic of Makharij al-Huruf al-Arabiya. So, Makharij, meaning the exit points, al-Huruf of the letters al-Arabiya in the language of Arabic. So here we just have a very quick summary of the Makharij. So there are 5 different ones. We have al-Jawf, al-Halq, and then we have Lisan, al-Shafatan, and al-Khayshum. And inshallah, we will learn the English and then also the Arabic meanings for all of these Makharij. So let's go ahead and first start off with the introduction to Makharij. So Makharij al-Huruf, what is Makharij? So Makharij is the plural of the word Makhraj. So Makhraj basically means one. Makharij is if we are talking about more than one. So this is the plural for the word Makhraj. So what exactly is Makharij? So Makharij is the articulation points of a letter. So al-huruf means the letters. Makharij is the articulation point, meaning that it is the exit point. So specifically in Tajweed, Makhraj refers to the articulation point of a letter. It is the place where the sound of the letter is emitted from. So when we are learning Arabic, we are going to learn exactly what movements you are making with your mouth, exactly where from the throat the sound is going to emerge from, exactly what movement the lips are going to make, the tongue is going to make, also maybe the nose sound is going to come from the nose. So all of these different things are the makhraj of a letter. Okay, so this is basically the movements that you make or the places from where the letter is coming out from. So, for example, if we have the letter M in English, and also in Arabic, you have the letter Mim. So if I want to say M, and if you can say it on your own as well, M, now you know that this is coming from the lips. The lips are coming together and they are creating that M sound for both Arabic and then also in English as well. If you want to say, for example, mom. So the M sound is coming when you are closing your lips. So closing your lips is the makhraj or the articulation point or the exit point from where the sound of meme or the sound of M in English is basically coming out from. So this is what makhraj it is. It is the place where the articulation point of a letter comes out from. So now when it comes to makhraj, we have 5 major areas of the makhraj. So we only have 5. This is those Arabic terms that we saw at the beginning of the slide. So first we have al-khayshum. So al-khayshum, here you have the English transliteration, then you have the Arabic. What is al-khayshum? Al-khayshum is the nasal passage. It is from the nose. So any sound that is coming from the nose, it is coming from al-khayshum. It is coming from the nasal passage. So you'll see, for example, the letter M, like I mentioned, it is coming a little bit from the nose. You feel that there is that nasally sound. Why? Because the letter Mim is from the khayshum. It is from the nasal passage. So this is the first major area, al-khayshum, the nasal passage or the nose. And you can see here that it's also pointing here at the exact area. So this area of the nose is known as al-khayshum in Arabic, and the translation for that is the nasal passage. Now, the second major area of makhraj is going to be al-shafatan. Ash-shafatan, the 2 lips. Okay, so this is here at the very opening of the mouth. You have one lip on top and then the lip on the bottom. So both of these 2 lips are known as ash-shafatan in Arabic. So here you can see it's pointing here at the lips. So this is the second general area, ash-shafatan. Then number 3, the third major area, we have al-jawf. Al-jawf is the empty space in between the mouth and the throat. So you see here, we follow the arrow. It is pointing to this area, this lighter colored area. So here we have the roof of the mouth, we have the throat, and in between we have this passage from where we eat, also where the air comes from. So this empty space is known as al-jawf. Okay, so that space, basically when you eat, the food goes down from there. This is known as al-jawf, okay, the empty space between the mouth and the throat. So this is the third major area. Then the fourth major area we have is al-lisan. So al-lisan is the tongue. Here it is pointing to the tongue. This whole entire red area is known as al-lisan, the tongue. Then finally we have al-halq, the throat. And this is this part right here. So here we have al-halq, the throat. So these are the 5 major areas. So all of the Arabic letters are going to come from one of these. Okay, so each Arabic letter comes from one major area. Okay, and all of them have to be from one of these areas. So every single letter in Arabic, when you recite Quran, when you are talking in Arabic, they are all going to come either from khayshum or shafatan, the lips, or in the empty space of the mouth and throat, or it can come from the tongue, or it can come from the throat. So these are all the possible areas where the sound can come in order for you to correctly make the sound of the Arabic letters the way that it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when it comes to the 5 major areas, now these are going to further be divided into 17 makharij. Okay, so here we have the general ruling. We just have makharij or makharij. So this is at the very top. Now, at the very top, we have these 5 major areas, and this is what we learned in the previous slide. We have khayshum, lisan, shafatan, halq, and jawf. We have the nasal passage, we have the tongue, we have the lips, we have the throat, and then we have the empty space of the mouth and the throat. Now, in all of these, we have the number of letters that are in each of these categories. So the first one we have khayshum, the nasal passage. So how many makhraj are from the nasal passage? We only have 1 makhraj of the nasal passage, and there are only 2 ghunna letters. Ghunna, we will learn later on what that means. Only 2 letters come from khayshum. Only 2 letters come from the nasal passage. And there is only 1 makhraj, meaning there is only one way to use the nasal passage to make sounds in Arabic. So there is only 1 makhraj, one way to use or utilize the nasal passage. And there are only 2 letters that come from the nose. Now, lisan is, or the tongue, is the greatest makhraj. Most of the Arabic letters come from al-lisan. So here you see there are 10 different makharij. So you can use the tongue in 10 different ways in order to make different types of sound. So if you use the tip of your tongue, this is 1 makharij. You will get a different sound than if you use the back of your tongue, for example. You will get a different sound. So there are 10 different ways to use your tongue. There are 10 different areas of the tongue that you can use in order to get different sounds. So here the tongue has 10 different makharij, which is the most out of any of these. Also, the tongue has 18 letters. So this is a majority of the Arabic alphabet comes from the tongue. So this is the one that has the most letters. Then we move on to shafatan, the lips. So we have only 2 makharij, meaning that there is only 2 ways to use the lips in order to make sound. And from the lips, we have a total of 4 letters. So 4 of the Arabic letters are made when you use the lips. Then we have al-halq, the throat, and from al-halq we have 3 makharij only. So there are 3 different areas of the throat that you can use in order to make different types of sounds. And from the halq we have 6 different letters. So 6 letters are from al-halq or from the throat. Now we have lastly the jawf, the empty space of the mouth and the throat. From this, there is only one makhraj. There's only one way to utilize the jawf in order to create sound. So there's only 1 makhraj, and there are only 3 mad letters. Mad letters are alif, waw, and ya for a mad. Inshallah, we will learn more about that. But for this one, there are only 3 letters. So these are the 17 makharij within the 5 major areas. Okay, so now this is a different chart showing you the division of the makharij. So here you see, first we're going to start off from al-halq. So al-halq is the throat. Again, there are 6 different letters, hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha. And there are 3 different areas of the throat. There are 3 makharij for the throat. So here we have the first makhraj. You can see here, this is the bottom of the throat. Right, so number 1, the first makhraj, number 1, we have hamza and ha. These 2 are from the bottom of the throat. So this is 1 makhraj from the throat. Now, Ayn and ha, this is the second makhraj, the middle of the throat. So now you are utilizing this space in the throat. So again, the major area is al-halq, the throat, the major area. All of this blue is the throat. Inside of the throat, there are three different areas that you can use, three different makharij. So first we have the lower throat, hamza ha, then we have the middle throat, we have ayn and ha, then we have the upper throat, which is ghain and kha. So these are the 6 letters in al-halq, in the throat, and 3 different makharij. So lower, middle, and then upper throat. So these are the 3 makharij and 6 total letters, which you can see here. Now let's move on to al-lisan. So al-lisan is this entire area here, and you can see there are quite a lot of letters from al-lisan, and also you can see here all of the makharij that come from al-lisan, come from the tongue. So different parts of the tongue are going to have a different makharij. So for example, we have letter 4 over here, qaf. So qaf is from this specific area of the tongue. Okay, so this specific area is its own makharij. Gaf has its own makharij, so this is a little bit up here. Then we have number 6, jim, sheen, and ya. So these 3 are over here. Then we have 7, lam. This is its own makharij. 8, noon. This is its own makharij. Ra has its own makharij. And then also here we have letters. So number 10, ta, dal, and ta. They all have their own makharij, meaning that they are all coming from the same place in the tongue, the tip of the tongue. La, tha, and tha. All of these are from the same makharij. They are grouped together under number 11 over here at also the tip of the tongue. So here, these are the different makharij. Each number is a different area of the tongue. So you see this tongue is one whole major area. So all of this is the tongue, and inside of the tongue, you have all of these different makharij, and you have all of these different letters that are from the tongue, and they all have their own specific makharij. Inshallah, we will go more into detail later on. Now, if you move on to number 3, ash-shafatan, the lips, we have 12, ba, mim, and waw. So here you see mim, waw, ba, number 12 from the bottom lip, and then we have 13, fa. So this specific area of the lip has its own makharij, and we have 4 letters here, 2 makharij from the lips. From the jawf, the empty space of the mouth and the throat, we only have 1 makharij, 16. So let's go to 16 here. I see alif, waw, and ya, and again, this is the empty space between the mouth and the throat. So this empty space here has the 3 letters alif, waw, and ya, mad. Now, finally, we have the nasal passage, the khayshum. And again, for this one, we only have 1 makhraj, meaning that you can use the nose only in one way in order to make sounds. And for this one, you have the 2 letters mim and nun. So this one has 2 letters, only has 1 makhraj. So this is just a basic overview, inshallah. We are going to go more into detail in the coming slides. So inshallah, let's go first and start off with al-jawf letters. So the jawf letters, what is al-jawf? Jawf is, again, the empty space between the mouth and the throat. So now we have some of these examples given here. So here you see that this is the throat, okay? And you can see this is the mouth. So for example, if you're eating food, you chew from here, and then the food goes down into your esophagus, into your stomach. So this area is completely empty. This is where the food passes from. This is also how we breathe. So this empty space is known as al-jawf. So between the mouth and the throat. So this area from here to here is al-jawf. Okay, al-jawf, the empty space between the mouth and the throat. Now we have 3 letters that come from al-jawf. And this is very important. These 3 letters are the mad letters. Okay, this is very important. So it is not alif, waw, and ya. So if you say alif, waw, and ya are from the jawf, this is incorrect. You have to specify alif maddiya, waw maddiya, or ya maddiya. So if they have a mad, if alif has mad, or waw has mad, or ya has mad, then it is going to be from the jawf. And what does mad mean? Mad means that you are lengthening. So for example, if you have a fatha followed by the letter alif, so you have that. So here now I am lengthening that. I am doing mad. I am prolonging this sound. So where is this ah sound coming from? This sound is coming from the empty space between the mouth and the throat. So alif maddiya is going to come from here. Ah. So this sound that I am doing is alif maddiya. It is coming from the jawf. Now, the second one we have is waw maddiya. Ooh, boo, doo. So again, these are coming from the jawf. The sound is traveling from down here. You can see these vibrations. It is coming from here, and then it is exiting from the mouth. Now, if you look over here closely, you can see that the lips are protruding a little bit. They are coming close together. The reason for this is that when we say ooh, the lips should be rounded. And you can see here as well in this drawing, the lips are rounded and you should see a little bit of an O shape. Ooh, boo, doo. So again, this sound, this ooh sound is coming from the jawf. It is coming from the empty space. Now, finally, we have ya maddiya. So this comes when we have kasra followed by the letter ya. So this one is also from the jawf. And the sound is coming from here. E, B, D. So you hear that E sound is coming from the empty space between the mouth and the throat. So specifically, it is coming from here near the tongue. And then for the waw mad, it is coming closer to the lips because you are rounding the lips. And then here, the alif mad is just coming again from the lips. So ah, E, ooh. So if I am doing any of these mad, I'm prolonging this. All of the sound is coming from the jawf, or the empty space between the mouth and the throat. And what this means is that if you say this on your own, if you say ma, so even though you can you say that word, you can feel that none of your throat is being engaged or none of your mouth is being engaged. And the reason for that is, again, because it is coming from the empty space. So you should not feel any movement from inside of the throat, from inside of the mouth. Only perhaps in the lips you should feel that circling. But other than that, the sound is just escaping naturally. So it's coming from our lungs and just escaping the mouth naturally. So this is the empty space. Nothing is being engaged. You are simply allowing that air to come out. You are allowing that sound to come out. Ah, e, oo. So there isn't any movement required when you are saying these mad sounds. And again, this is not alif, waw, and ya. This is alif maddiya, waw maddiya, or ya maddiya. So if you have alif with a fatha, if you have dhamma with a waw, or if you have kasra with a ya. So in these three conditions only will the sound be from the jawf, or the empty part between the mouth and the throat. So these are the jawf letters. Now, from the jawf letters, we also have the lean letters. The lean letters, what is lean? Lean basically means if you have an fatha here, you have fatha, and then you have either waw or ya with a sukun. Okay, you cannot have alif with a sukun. Otherwise, it is just going to be an alif mad. In order to have a lean, you have to have fatha followed by either waw with a sukun. So here you see fatha with waw, or you see fatha with a ya sukun. And what is this lean sound? It is going to sound like oh, ay. So first you are saying that fatha and then you are merging into the waw sukun, oh. Or you have the fatha and you are merging into the ya sukun, ay. So this oh, ay, this sound is known as lean. Lean also comes from the empty space between the mouth and the throat. And again, here you see that this waw has the rounding of the lips. You can see here the lips are protruding a little bit. If you see it from the front, it should be an O shape. So you have O, you have that shape of the O, and your mouth is being circled. O, A. So both of these are also from the jawf. So you have number one, the mad letters, fatha with an alif, dhamma with a waw, or kasra with a ya, or if you have fatha with waw, or if you have fatha with ya. So again, these are the two lean letters. Inshallah, we will cover this later on as well, but it's important to note that these are also from the jawf. They are also from the empty space between the mouth and the throat. Now, inshallah, let's move on to the throat letters. So the throat in Arabic, this is known as al-halq. Okay, al-halq. That is the Arabic word for throat. Of the throat letters, we have 6. So we covered this before, that we have 6 letters from the throat and we have 3 makharij. So what are the 3 makharij? We have the lower throat at the very bottom of the throat, closer to your chest. Then we have the middle of the throat, and then we have the upper throat. And this is the one that is closest to our mouth, the closest to our tongue. So the 3 makharij of the throat, and you should memorize this. We have the lower throat, the middle throat, and then we have the upper throat. So these 3 areas, each area has 2 letters. Okay, so we have 2 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and then 2 on the top. That is equal to 6 letters. So we have a total of 6 letters that come from the throat. So these are known as huruf halqi, the 6 throat letters. So we have the lower throat, middle throat, and upper throat. Which letters are from the lower throat? So we learned that there are 2 letters from the lower throat. First off, we have the letter Hamza. Hamza is from the lower throat, close to the chest. So this area right here, the lower throat. Hamza is coming from the lower throat, Makharij. Now let's look at this letter Hamza. What does Hamza sound like? So here we have A, E, U. So these are just Fatha, Dhamma, and Kasra, simply one count. A, E, U. So now you have the Hamza. Now you have the med letter. A, E, U. So now you are lengthening these for 2 counts. Now this Hamza is from the throat. A, E, U. Now if we are prolonging this, we start first from the throat, then we are switching over to the jof. So as long as I am lengthening it, I am using my jof. So you are no longer using the throat any longer. So for example, if I say ah, so that ah at the beginning is from the throat, and then if I lengthen it, I am using the jof. Ah, now I am engaging the jof. Why? Because I see there is a fatha followed by an alif mad, or there is kasra followed by a ya mad, or here there is dhamma with a waw mad. Ah, e, ooh. So you have that sharp hamza sound using the lower throat. And then here you have with a hamza, up. So you want a little bit of that jerking sound because of the hamza, up. Now, inshallah, let's go on to the second letter that is also from the lower throat. So I mentioned that we have 2 letters from each of the 3 areas. So that is a total of 6. So from the lower throat, we have 2 letters. What are these 2 letters? We have the letter Hamza, and then also we have the letter Ha. So Ha, this Ha, the one that has the 2 dots, is from the lower throat as well. So close to the chest, it comes from the same exact area as Hamza. So what does this Ha sound like? Ha, he, hu. So this is the Ha. Then we have Ha, he, hu, ah. So here we have the letter Ha, which is also from the lower throat. So again, these 2 letters are only from the bottom of the throat, close to the chest. So only 2 letters are from the lower throat makhraj, Hamza and Ha. Now let's move on to the middle throat. So the middle throat, we have first the letter Ain. So now we are moving up from the throat. So first we did the lower throat, Hamza and Ha. Now we are moving on to the middle throat, Ain. Ain is from the middle of the throat. If you say the letter Ain, you should feel a little bit of constriction in the throat. And in order to experiment with this, you can put a hand in the middle of your throat. And if you say the letter Ain, you should feel movement in the throat. You should feel a little bit of constriction, almost like a strangulation when you say the letter Ain. So you can say, as we are saying these letters, put a hand to your throat, ah. You should feel movement in the throat. You should feel that ah. You should feel a little bit of strangulation sound coming from the middle of the throat. And put your hand there and you should feel that. Ah, ri, ru. So again, this ain is coming from the middle of the throat. Now, this is very important that you are following the correct makhraj, because sometimes what happens is that people say this ain as a hamza. So they will see ain. They will say alamin, and instead of saying alamin, they will say alamin. Alamin and alamin are two completely different sounds. One is the sound of a hamza from the lower throat, and one is the sound of an ayn from the middle of the throat. So again, let's listen to that difference. Alamin, alamin. You hear that strangulation from the middle of the throat, and sometimes what people say is alamin. Alamin and alamin are two different sounds. So again, you want to make sure that you are following the correct makharij of the sound. So is from the middle of the throat. Allow some of that strangulation, allow some movement of the middle of the throat. So again, you want ri, ru. And then here we have the med letters, ri, ru. So again, you have strangulation, you hear that sound. And then if you have here ayn with a sukun, So for hamza, we had Now for ayn, we have You have that sound. So you want to make sure that you feel some of that strangulation. If you see the letter ayn, make sure it is from the throat. Otherwise, it can begin to sound like a hamza. And again, that is one of those major mistakes that we learned. Why? Because you are changing the meaning of the word. So again, alamin is different from alamin. You can hear that difference, and a. And this difference comes because you are switching from lower throat to the middle of the throat. So you want to make that switch and make sure you have the distinction that is showing you that ayn is from the middle of the throat. So again, if you need to, you can put a hand on your throat, and inshallah, as you're saying it, you can feel some of that vibration, feel some of that movement. It is that sound similar to strangulation. If you feel constriction of the throat, that is the sound of the letter ayn. Now let's move on to the second letter that is also from the middle of the throat. So now we have hamza ha from the lower throat. From the middle throat, we have the two letters ayn and ha. Now ha is different than ha. Ha is from the lower throat, and you can hear ha is a very easy sound. Ha. It flows very easily from the lower throat closer to the chest. The letter ha requires movement. It requires constriction of the throat. So you make sure that you have a little bit of that constriction, and also that you are bringing up air from the throat, and you are also constricting the middle of the throat. So again, ha is different than the letter ha. Hamid is different than Hamid, and you can hear difference. Hamid, Hamid. You hear that there is air coming. You feel a little bit of constriction as well when it comes to the letter ha. So here we have with a fatha, ha, hi, hu. So you hear that sound. So you hear from the throat that you have a little bit of constriction. Ha, hi, hu, ah. So and you should hear that difference. So again, you can say this on your own as well. If you say the previous ha from the lower throat, you won't feel movement in the throat. You won't feel much movement or constriction in the throat. But if you say the letter you should feel more constriction. You should feel more air escaping as well. So this one is towards the middle of the throat. Ha. It requires a little bit more effort than the previous ha. And again, this is why makhraj is so important, because if I change ha with the letter ha, even though they both sound similar, in English, for example, we only have one letter H. So H, you can't say it wrong in any other way. But in Arabic, you have two letters. And even though they sound similar, they are not the same. Ha is different than ha. These are two different sounds, and you have to make sure that you are pronouncing them separately. So for example, also in the word rahim, rahim, ha, this is from the middle of the throat. And if I say rahim, rahim, this is incorrect. Why? Because that ha is from the lower throat. So you hear that difference, rahim and rahim. You hear that difference, that one is from the lower throat and one is from the middle throat. Now let's move on to the final makhraj from the throat. So again, we learned that there are a total of 6 different letters. So we did 4 of them. Hamza, ha is from the lower throat. Ain, ha is from the middle throat. Now finally from the upper throat, we have ghain. And ghain is from the upper throat here, close to the mouth. So you can see this ghain sound is coming from here. So this letter ghain, gha, ghi, ghu, gha, ghi, ru, al. So you hear that ra, ra. You will feel a little bit of vibration because it is coming close in contact to the mouth. So because of this contact, you should feel a little bit of vibration. Ra, ri, ru. So this is the upper throat. So we have at the lower throat, hamza ha. The middle throat, we have ain ha. Then from the top of the throat, we have ghain. And then also we have the letter kha. Okay, now for kha as well, this is from the upper throat. You will come in contact with the mouth. And this is how kha is different than ha. So sometimes what happens is that ha sounds like a kha. So both of these have similar sounds. So we want to make sure that they are completely separate, that you can distinguish between ha and kha. So they should not sound similar. You should have a difference between these. And the difference again is that ha is from the middle of the throat, kha is from the upper throat, and you will come in contact with the mouth or the back of the tongue. So you should feel a little bit of that contact as you are reciting this letter. So let's read here with the fatha, kha, qi, hu. Then we have kha, qi, hu, akh. Kha is also a heavy sound, and inshallah we will learn the heavy letters later on, but this is also something that distinguishes the letter kha, that you are going to see the back of the tongue is raised. It is coming in contact with the upper throat, which is giving that kha, that full mouth feeling. Inshallah we will cover that later on. I just wanted to mention for now that the letter kha is a heavy sound. So just do a quick review of the throat letters. At the very lower throat, we have hamza ha. In the middle of the throat, we have ain ha. Then at the top of the throat, we have ghain and kha. So that is a total of 6 letters. We have 3 makharij. We have the lower throat, we have the upper throat, and then we have the middle throat. So these are the different throat letters. Inshallah, in the next class, we are going to move on to the second major area. This is the root of the tongue, and we are going to start with the tongue letters. Very quickly, let's just do a picture of what these look like. So I just want to show the throat now that we have seen exactly what the makhraj looks like. So here, this is the area we're looking at. We're looking at al-halq, the throat. Al-halq is the Arabic word for throat. The general areas. We learned there are 5 general areas. The general area that we did today is the throat. This area right here. Then from the throat, we have 3 different makharij. We have the lower throat. Right over here, we have lower throat. Then we have number 2, the middle of the throat. Right over here, you see that 2. This is the middle of the throat. And then finally, number 3, we have the upper throat, closer to the mouth. So these are the 3 general areas. Number 1, number 2, number 3, lower throat, middle throat, upper throat. We have a total of 6 letters, 2 letters in each general area. So from the lower throat, we have hamza and ha. From the middle of the throat, we have ain and ha. Then number 3, we have ghain and kha. Hamza, ha, lower throat. Ain, ha, from the middle throat. Ghain and kha from the upper throat. So again, 3 different makharij, 1 big general area, 6 different letters. So this is what it means. When we say the 5 major areas, we are talking about al-halq, one of the major areas. When I say the makharij, there are 3 different makharij, 3 different areas of the throat. And then from these throat letters, we have 6, hamza, ha, ain, ha, and ghain, and kha. Now, as we are learning makhraj, keep in mind that inshallah, you should try to implement the correct pronunciation. So the reason why we are learning makhraj is that so we don't get the letters mixed up. Each Arabic letter should sound different from the other letters. Okay, and this is something that is very important, especially when we have grown up reading the Quran in a specific way. So what happens is that if we grow up reading the Quran in a specific accent, a lot of these letters begin to sound the same. So some people, for example, these, if we look at number 11, they say the, and the. So these all sound very similar. The. All of them sound very similar. They sound exactly the same. So this is incorrect. Each Arabic letter should have its own pronunciation. So va is different than tha, is different than za, is different than tha. You should hear that difference. Even though they all come from the same makhraj, they should not sound the same. Here, for example, like we learned, ha and ha. Both of these letters should not sound the same. Ha should sound different than ha. A should sound different than a. So all of these letters should have their own distinct, unique sound. And this is why makharij are so important, especially when we have grown up reciting the Quran in a specific accent. A lot of these makharij begin to get muddled together, so we don't hear that difference. So sometimes, for example, we have qaf and kaf. Even though they're in similar areas, they both are from this area of the tongue. Qaf is different than kaf, and they should not sound the same. Qalb is different than the word kelb. You hear that difference, qaf and kaf. So that is why it's very important for us to do the makharij. Why? Because as we are doing the makharij, we are learning that there are different unique sounds to each Arabic letter. And to get these two letters confused or mixed up is going to give you major mistakes. Why? Because you are changing the meaning of the Quran. So for example, we have the word qalb, which means heart, and I recite kelb, which is with a kaf. Now kelb means dog. So I'm changing the meaning from heart to dog. So we want to make sure we are not changing the meaning of the Quran. We are not changing any of the letters. The goal of Tajweed again is to recite Quran the way that it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Allah directly. So inshallah, that's why as we are learning Makharij, try to get used to saying the letters with these Makharij. Try to experiment. Try to figure out how do these letters feel as they come out of your mouth. So as you are reciting Quran, stop and think that when I say the letter Ain, what part of the throat is being engaged? When I say the letter Mim, what movement do I do in order to make that sound? And inshallah, you should be aware of your own mouth, of the throat, of your tongue, of your nose even, that exactly which areas are being used as I recite the Quran. And inshallah, there is a lot of ajr in this. This is basically what it means to learn tajweed, that you are learning to recite the Quran in the true Arabic, the way that it was taught to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So inshallah, today we are just going to end here, and then in the next class we will continue on with the second topic of the tongue or al-lisan. Jazakallahu khairan kathiran. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.